Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. And today's lecture will be somewhat interesting. We are going to discuss some new topics today. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see the first article. Title says Lokayukta Police File Closure Report. So what is happening regarding this, we don't need. So we don't need who are involved, what is the political thing regarding this. So we need to focus on this Lokayukta. So this Lokayukta which is under our syllabus in polity. So we are going to discuss some of the details regarding this Lokayukta. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under polity. So you can expect questions regarding Lokayukta in both prelims and also mains. So now let us see the context. So let us try to understand brief context why this Lokayukta is in news. So what happened? Karnataka Lokayukta police have filed a closure report of one important case, that is Belender IT corridor denotification case. So in this case, CM, that is Chief Minister Yediyurappa, also accused. So because of this Lokayukta is in news. Now let us see some facts regarding the Lokayukta. This Lokayukta, it is an anti-corruption authority or ombudsman. It is an official appointed by the government to represent the interest of the people or public. So this Lokayukta mainly investigates allegations regarding corruption, maladministration against public servants. So this Lokayukta which tasks mainly with the speedy redressal of public grievances. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this Lokayukta. Now let us try to understand this genesis of this Lokayukta. So the first important recommendation for the establishment of the Lokpals and Lokayuktas was given by the ARC, Administrative Reforms Commission, headed by Morarji Desai in 1966. So in 1966 only ARC recommended for the establishment of Lokayuktas and Lokpals. Lokayuktas at the state level and Lokpal at central level. So because of this, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act of 2013 passed. It is also called as famously Lokpal Act. So this act mainly provides for appointment of Lokayukta. So this Lokayukta will investigate and reports mainly on allegations, grievances which are related to the conduct of public servants. So who is appointed as Lokayuktas? So here the two people or two persons can be appointed as Lokayuktas. You have to remember this. First one is former High Court Chief Justice. Second one is former Supreme Court Judge. They will be appointed as Lokayukta with a fixed tenure. So if you are talking about the selection of these Lokayuktas, Chief Minister of State selects a person as Lokayukta mainly after consultation with the committee. Contains High Court Chief Justice, Speaker of Legislative Assembly, Speaker or Chairman of Legislative Council, and Leader of Opposition from Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. So this is a committee, committee which mainly formed by these persons. So after consultation with these committee members, Chief Minister will select persons as Lokayukta. So later on, that person will be appointed as Lokayukta by Governor of State. So one important thing that you should remember here is, once appointed, Lokayukta cannot be dismissed and also cannot be transferred by the government. So he can be removed only by passing impeachment motion in the state legislative assembly. So these are some important things that you should remember. And now let us see the next article. Title says budget session to have question hour. So regarding this question hour, we also have number of discussions in our previous Hindu analysis. So why we had discussion on this question hour? Because in the monsoon session, there is no question hour. Question hour has been suspended in the monsoon session, and later on we didn't conduct even the winter session, and now we are going to conduct this budget session. And this budget session we are going to have as usual question hour. So this is the some background of this article. Again, this question hour will be an important topic which comes under polity. So this question hour is important for both the prelims and also mains. So let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. First, let us see the context. Here, question hour, which has been suspended by government during monsoon session, that question hour will resume when Parliament meets for budget session. That means in the upcoming budget session, we are going to have question hour again. Now, let us see some facts regarding this question hour. This question hour, it is the first hour of every parliamentary sitting. So in this question hour, member of parliamentarians, that is MPs, they can ask question to the ministers who hold them accountable. So this question hour, it is one of the important tool which is used by the member of parliament, that is legislature, to make executive accountable. Okay, executive is accountable for the functioning of their different ministries here. So not only ministers, but also questions can be asked to the private members. Private members means who are not the ministers. So other members of parliament, they can be also asked questions. Okay. So this question hour may be regulated according to parliamentary rules. Here, presiding officers of houses, for example, in Rajya Sabha it will be chairman, in Lok Sabha it will be speaker. So speaker and chairman, they will be the final authority with respect to conduct of this question hour in the houses. If you are talking about types of questions, there are mainly three types. First one is start question, second one is unstart question, and third one is short notice questions. So whenever start questions are asked to the ministers, so they requires oral answer. So whenever minister is giving oral answer, supplementary questions will also follow. And if you are talking about unstart questions, so for this type of question, answer will be given in the written format. So answer, whenever it is given in the written format, there will be no supplementary questions that can be asked. Okay, and next one is short notice question. So this short notice question asked by giving a notice of less than 10 days, and for this short notice questions also, answer should be given in the orally, not written format. Okay, so these are the types of the questions. And now let us see the frequency of question hour. So this question hour, which is in both houses, that will be held on all the days of the session, but there are 2 days there is exception. So this exception will be important for prelims. The first one is President addresses MPs from both the houses. That means in the beginning of new Lok Sabha or on the first day of new parliament year. It also on that day's president's speech will be happen. So on that day there will be no question hour. And next one is on the day when finance minister presents the budget in the house. So on that day there will be no question hour. So these are 2 exceptions that you should remember. And now let us see the next article. Title says military specialists to get S-400 training in Moscow. So this article mainly talking about S-400 Triumph missile system. So this article will be important regarding international relations and also defense. International relations, which comes under GS paper 2, and defense, which comes under GS paper 3. So let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. First, let us see the context and also details, and also we are going to discuss some facts regarding this S-400 missile system. So this article mainly talking about S-400 long range air defense system. So context says first group of Indian military specialists, they are scheduled to depart for Moscow to undergo training courses on this S-400 missile. So now we are going to get first batch of S-400 missiles to the India. So because of this, our military personnel, they are also to be able to handle those S-400 missiles. So because of this, first group of Indian military specialists, they are scheduled to depart for Moscow to undergo training regarding this S-400 missiles. Now let us try to understand some facts. So this S-400 Triumph missile, it is an air defense missile system. So this is important thing for prelims, and it is developed by Almaz Central Design Bureau of Russia. So it replaced mainly S-300P, S-200 air defense systems of Russia's army. And if you see some important features, they designed to destroy aircraft, cruise ballistic missiles, middle range missiles, and can also used against ground installations also. So it also engages target of 400 kilometers and it can be used at altitude up to 30 kilometers. So this range and this altitude will be important for prelims. And it also integrates different technology like multifunction radar, autonomous detection, targeting systems, anti-aircraft missile system, launchers, command and control center. So because of this technology which is incorporated in this S-400, then it will provide 4 different types of layered air defense, and this system can also simultaneously also engage with 36 target at once. So this article also talked about one important thing, that is CAATSA. So this CAATSA, it mainly stands for Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. So it is one of the US federal law. So by using this US federal law, US president, he can impose sanctions. As of now, US president imposed sanctions on 3 countries. First one is Iran, second one is North Korea, and third one is Russia. So this act mainly empowers US president to impose 5 out of 12 listed sanctions on persons who are engaged with a significant transaction with Russian defense and also intelligence sectors. That means Russia, which is coming up with any defense instruments, if you are going and buying that instrument, then your US president, he can impose sanctions or CAATSA on the country which is buying this, okay, buying this equipment. So this is the one of the cause of concern for India to buy this S-400 Triumph missile. So if you see this CAATSA, it mainly includes sanctions against countries that engage in significant transaction with the Russia's defense and intelligence sectors. That means if any country which is going and purchasing any intelligence equipment or any defense equipment from Russia, so this country will attract sanctions through CAATSA. So what is important goal of CAATSA? Important goal here is to prevent revenue flowing into the Russia's government. So these are some important facts that you should remember. And now let us see the next article. Title says India must remain a part of global economy. So this article mainly talking about global economy. So India should be the part of global economy. So to achieve this, what can be done, that is discussed in this article. So this article will be important regarding economy, which comes under GS paper 3. So let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So context says that India must remain an integral part of global economy. So if India want to be in the part of this global economy, India has to grow at 9 to 10% over next 3 decades. So this is the statement which is given by our Niti Aayog CEO in 15th India Digital Summit. So in 15th India Digital Summit, Niti Aayog CEO said that whenever India want to be the part of global economy, it need to grow 9 to 10% for 3 decades. So in this way, India must be an integral part of global supply chain. So India to remain or India to occupy space in this global economy, it need to be the integral part of global supply chain as well. So in this context, he also said that government's Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is not about protectionism or protecting the domestic industries, but it is about making India a part of global supply chain. India want to increase its exports, okay? And what is the need? What can be done? What is the way forward? Here, global supply chain need to be restructured in India, and whatever the goods and services we are produced in a country, that should be competitive in the international market, and we need to use power of technology to be the part of this global supply chain, okay? And now let us see the next article. Title says native 5G model must to aid education, agriculture and healthcare. So this article mainly talking about 5G technology. So if you have go through daily current affairs PDF which we are providing, I think 3 days back we took this 5G technology article from Indian Express, if I am not wrong. So in that article we provide about what is this 5G technology, what are the advantages, what are the features, what are the challenges, etc. So this article provide me the chance of discussing that here, okay? And now let us try to discuss this article in great detail. So this article will be again important regarding economy, which comes under GS paper 3. So if you see context, it mainly says that Union Minister for Communication, Electronics and Information Technology, and also Law and Justice, he said that India must play a proactive role in creating Desi 5G model, because India also already lost the chance in the 2G technology, 3G technology, but India should not lose opportunity in this 5G technology. India should play a proactive role in this 5G technology. So this Desi 5G model, it should be inclusive, it should be supportive in the different fields like healthcare, like education, like farming, etc. Okay. Now let us try to understand some facts regarding this 5G technology. So 5G mainly stands for 5th generation cellular technology. So it has some important and unique features mainly when we are compared to the 3G technology and the 4G technology. So those are, the first one is millimeter wave spectrum. So this 5G technology which can operate in a millimeter wave spectrum, that is from 30 to 300 gigahertz. So it is one of the important advantage because we can use large amount of the data at a very high speeds. And next one is it have upgraded LTE. This is a broadband network, and the network speed, internet speed is very high. It is 20 gigabits per second. When we are comparing with the 4G internet speed, it is 1 Gbps, that is 1 gigabit per second, but it is 20 times more when we are comparing to this 4G. And if you see the applications, it have the wide range of applications. So these applications will be important for prelims especially, and also mains. So some of those applications here include high speed mobile network, entertainment and multimedia, Internet of Things, smart cities, smart farming, telemedicine, controlling of critical infrastructure and vehicles, industrial applications. So these are some important applications. So what will be the advantages? The first one is when we are shifting from 4G to 5G, we have enhanced mobile broadband and coverage. We have high upload and download speed. We can incorporate artificial intelligence in our daily life by using this 5G technology. And we also have the high data speed such that it will help the cloud systems to stream software updates, music, navigation, etc. And it will also promote digital growth. It will contribute to the GDP and increases the employment generation opportunities also. Now let us try to understand what are the challenges. The first one is critical infrastructure. So this critical infrastructure which is suitable for this 5G technology which is not present here, because when we want to adopt this critical infrastructure, we need to change the core architecture of communication system. So this is the one of the important challenge. And next one is financial liability on consumers. So whenever we want to go for the transition from 4G to the 5G technology, we need to upgrade latest cellular technology. So whenever we want to upgrade this cellular technology, it will create mainly financial liability on the consumer, that will increases the cost for the consumers. And next one is capital inadequacy. So there is lack of flow of cash and also adequate capital with suitable telecom companies. So because of this lack of flow of cash, we are having some challenges. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this 5G technology. Now let us see the next article. Title says the threat of deep fakes. So this article, it is very important regarding polity and governance and even science and technology. So this is a topic important from GS2 and GS3. So this topic is important especially for mains point of view. So if you read this article, what you will understand? First one is you will understand what is this deep fakes and what is the role of deep fakes in democracy and what are the challenges of the deep fakes and what is the way forward. Okay. Today's mains question is also based on this article. Now let us try to discuss this article in a great detail. So if you see this deep fakes, why this deep fakes is in news? So first we need to understand the background. So protesters created chaos in Capitol Hill on January 6th. So these protesters, they are supporters of Donald Trump. So these protesters mainly believe that 2020 US elections, they were stolen by Democrats. So they came up with the perception building like, so these Donald Trump supporters, they created protest, they caused the violence mainly in Capitol Hill because they got perception like this US elections, they were stolen by Democrats. So this perception building mainly caused in the supporters of Donald Trump by using deep fakes. For example, they created audio visuals, they created videos, text, etc. by using artificial intelligence such that led to the perception building mainly in the supporters of the Donald Trump. So the reasons for the protest here include misinformation, disinformation, malicious information, in which deep fakes are part of it. Now let us try to understand what is the deep fakes and what is the role in democracy. So this deep fakes are synthetic media which mainly includes either images or audio visuals or videos. They are either manipulated, they are entirely generated by using artificial intelligence. So these deep fakes, they mainly have power to threaten the electoral outcome of the world's oldest democracy. So because of these deep fakes which are used for the perception creation in the supporters of Donald Trump, that led to threatening of the democracy in the America, okay, in the USA. So if you see the deep fakes, they are facing challenges by the cyber world. So this deep fakes mainly uses artificial intelligence mainly for fabricating the audios, videos, text, etc. such that real people saying and doing things they never did. They are going to create new images, new videos, etc. So people who are watching those videos or those hearing those audio visuals or seeing those images, so people, they are very difficult to detect whether they are real or whether they are fake. So because of this deep fakes, they are mainly used to tarnish reputations, to create mistrust, question facts and spread propaganda in the democracy. So not only USA but also across the world, here deep fakes causing one important challenge for governance. If you are talking about India also facing same problem of deep fakes. India has not enacted any specific legislation to against this deep fakes. Though there are some provisions in the IPC, that is Indian Penal Code, are present, they are not effectively, or they are inadequate to deal with this deep fakes. So in this context, I want to say one thing here, that is, whenever we are using the new technology, whenever there is increase in technological innovations, so that is also creating the new challenges. So to meet those new challenges, we need to update our laws. For example, if you are talking about data security, data protection, we do not have any data security law and the data protection law. So in this case, mainly to protect the citizens' right, mainly to prevent compromise of the citizens' right, and to maintain democratic system, we need to update our laws here. So mainly when we want to address this deep fakes, we have two solutions. First one is we need to come up with a new law, and second one is we need to identify new tools to decide whether it is a deep fake or not here. So if you're talking about this deep fakes, they are criminalize certain forms of online social media content. They are going for manipulation, etc. And this is used mainly to circulate the disinformation, misinformation, etc. in the social media. And if you're talking about acts which are present in India, we have Information Technology Act of 2000. It covers several types of the crimes, but regarding this deep crimes, this is inadequate, okay. And if you are talking about already existing laws in India, they are inadequate mainly to safeguard individuals and as well as entities to arrest the deep fakes. So we need to go for the proper detection here. So when we want to detect these deep fakes, we have only artificial intelligence generated tools. So these artificial intelligence generated tools are effective mainly for detection of these deep fakes. As innovation is in deep fakes that gets better, artificial intelligence based automated tools must be invented accordingly. So as increase in the technology, there will be the deep fakes that will be increased. So because of this, mainly to identify those deep fakes, we need to go for invention of the new methods of artificial intelligence. We can also use even blockchain against security threats here. So we can use these blockchains mainly to to identify whether those videos are digitally affirmed or validate or not. Okay, so in that way we can use this blockchain technology mainly to detect whether those are deep fakes or not. So recently workshop which identified 6 themes regarding the deep fakes. So these are some of the solutions that can be written for these deep fakes. First one is deep fakes are mainly used for manipulation of media. Because of this, they are going for the computational propaganda, disinformation campaigns. So there is circulation of the disinformation that is seen in the social media. And next one is deep fakes mainly cause multi-dimensional issues. So in this we need collaborative multi-stakeholder response, and we need to go for the formulation or establishment of experts committee to find up solutions. And next one is detecting of this deep fakes is hard. So because of this, we need to go for the invention of this blockchain technology or artificial intelligence to detect this deep fakes. And next one is journalists. They need to use tools mainly to scrutinize images, videos, audio recordings. So for this, journalists also need some training and the resources regarding this deep fakes. And next one is policymakers also, they need to understand how these deep fakes are threatening polity, society, security, economy, etc. And they need to make efficient laws. They need to update already presenting laws. And next one is deep fakes which causes disinformation, which also circulates distrust among the people. So it is one of the major concern that to be addressed by the government. So these are some important things that you should remember regarding this deep fakes. And now let us see the next article. Title says India-Nepal relations in a new transition. So this article focusing on India-Nepal relation. So this topic will be important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And this topic is especially important from mains point of view. So whenever I am giving mains question to you people, so students who join this current affairs package, they are regularly asking me where to get the content. So if you read this type of articles, you will get the content. So I will say you how you can get this content from this article. Okay, so please try to focus here. Please try to understand what I am saying here. So this article mainly talking about India-Nepal relations. So as we know, India-Nepal relation which is low now. So because there is some political crisis that is happening in the Nepal, and also we are having boundary issues like Kalapani issue, Susta issue between India and Nepal which is moving towards China. So because of all these reasons and some internal political issues which are going on in Nepal, so it affects the relationship between the India and Nepal here. So because of this, we need to move towards increasing, or we need to go for good relationships. So we need to come up with some infrastructure projects or developmental projects in the Nepal such that we need to increase our trust here. Okay, so this is the thing which is one of the brief background which is given in this article. Now let us see the background here. So if you are talking about India-Nepal relations, so it is a unique characteristic relation that is existing between India and Nepal. So because of some internal political fundamentals that will continue to shape the foreign policy of India towards Nepal. So normally we say the relation between India and Nepal, we have cultural relations, we have some historical relation, and the relationship normally called as roti-beti relationship as well. So if you see in 2020 especially, because of China's unprecedented aggression, so it came up with the counter India's conventional edges in Nepal and South Asia. So because of this, to counter India in this continental sphere, mainly China coming up with some infrastructure projects, economic projects, or geopolitical, geostrategic projects in Nepal. So because of this, Nepal which is moving towards China nowadays. So mainly to improve our relationship between India and Nepal. So recently Joint Commission meeting held, they discussed number of projects. So because of these projects, we can see there will be some good relationship in the near future between India and Nepal. So whatever the thing we are going to discuss now, you can write anywhere such that you can use this as a content whenever you are writing India-Nepal relations. The first one is we are going to export this COVID vaccine to the Nepal. So there is also one important article regarding this vaccine exports to the other nearby countries by the India. So because of this, we can also say role of India in countering pandemic or against pandemic, such that we are exporting COVID-19 vaccines to the other countries as well. So in this context, we are also going to export this COVID-19 vaccine to the Nepal, such that it will helpful for the Nepal, and we can also increase our relationship between Nepal. And next one is expansion of Motihari Amletganj petroleum products pipeline to Chitwan. So we are also going to have one petrol pipeline. And next one is establishment of new pipeline in the eastern side, which is connecting Siliguri in India to Japa in Nepal. We are also having the new pipeline project. And next one is first passengers railway line between India and Nepal, that is from Jayanagar to Kurta. And next one is we also discussed some of the other cross-border rail network projects. For example, Rahul to Kathmandu broad gauge railway line. And Joint Commission also laid emphasis on facilitating the cross-border movement of people and goods. Recently, we also inaugurated integrated check post in Birganj and Biratnagar. So because of this integrated check post, there is seamless movement of the people and also trade that is seen, such that it will boost relationship between India and Nepal. And they also discussed about the joint hydropower project. So whenever we are investing in the hydropower projects in Nepal, so Nepal will generate electricity, and that electricity will be exported to India, and India can buy electricity from Nepal. So this type of electricity, it is renewable source of electricity, right? So we can also achieve our national determined contributions by using power from the renewable sources. Okay, so the hydropower project here is Pancheshwar multi-purpose project. And next one is India also talked about support in 2 or more cultural heritage projects in Nepal, includes Pashupati Nath River Front Development Project, Badarkal Garden restoration in Patan Durbar. So these are some of the important things which are discussed in this joint commission meeting between India and Nepal. So we are expecting that with this discussions, we are going to have a good relationship between India and Nepal in the near future. And also Nepal expressed support of India's permanent membership in the UNSC. So these are some positive things we are going to expect that is going to be happen in the near future. So in this way, you need to collect this type of information. So this will be becomes the content of your question. Okay. And now let us see the mains question. Increased use of technology poses new challenges. They can be addressed only by formulation of flaws. Discuss. So try to write answer to this question, and answer should not be more than 150 words. Okay. So I want to make a small announcement here. We came up with this current affairs package course. So we are focusing exclusively on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So why current affairs is important for clearing UPSC? So if you see, either it may be prelims, either it may be mains, 60 to 50% of the questions mainly that will come from the current affairs itself. So mastering of current affairs will be very important to clear UPSC. And also mains answer writing practice is very important for clearing of mains here. So without proper answer writing skills, you cannot clear mains. So because of this course will focus both on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So please don't take this course as a choice. Please join this course. Okay, if you are interested to join this course, details of this course which is given in the description box. And if you want to know further details of this course, please contact. Okay, the contact number also given in the description box. By this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos.